I'm Amanda Sturgeon, Executive Director of the International Living Future Institute. We're best known for the Living Building Challenge. But today I'm going to talk about living communities, and in particular one at the First Hill neighborhood in Seattle, and how we're making it ecologically restorative, socially just, and culturally rich. So my first question to you today is, why are we repeating the past? My family, my grandparents, and my parents lived in London in 1952 during 3 days when 4,000 people died from a smog that engulfed London. Their response was, let's move to the garden cities emerging around London, where we can have an opportunity to have open space, be close to jobs, mostly clean air, but also be able to grow their own food. This could be my mom, my sister, and I. It's not, in our matching dresses. But while we had a great connection to nature and lived in this utopian vision, what happened to our cities? And the answer is that what happens to our cities is they still remain polluted. With over half of our population living in our cities, and the UN predicting that that will only grow in the coming years, there's a lot of people, over probably half of our population, that are living in this state of pollution and disconnection from nature. So I believe we need to change the future of our cities, and we ask a fundamental question when we look at problems, which is, what does good look like? We asked that question in 2011 with a Living City Design competition, and we got these amazing visions of what good looks like from all around the world that really inspired us to think about, how do we take this question further? We did that with the Living Community Challenge, launched a couple years ago. We took our framework of the Living Building Challenge to challenge how we could make the impossible possible. We felt there were a lot of amazing initiatives that focus on streets or jobs or housing in our cities and communities, but nothing that was really uniting a vision around all of those comprehensive and interconnected issues together. We look at the forest as a metaphor, so how could we create communities that are connected to nature, harvest their energy, food, and water, they're equitable, healthy, and beautiful. We already see this popping up in our cities. Nature's being used as a community builder, as a healer, and provides beauty in many of our existing cities. The First Hill community in Seattle already has a catalyst project, the Bullitt Center, which is a living building. And First Hill stems from the edge of the Bullitt Center all the way down to the edge of downtown Seattle. It has the largest public housing redevelopment project in the country, all of Seattle's major hospitals, one of the major universities, and a diverse group of residential neighborhoods that are rapidly changing. We did a two-step process. Firstly, we brought stakeholders and landowners together to investigate what a vision might look like if we all worked together. And then we took that vision to the community and asked for their input. Together we came up with this vision that could transform some of the streets in First Hill from this to this, and from this at the edge of the public housing redevelopment to this. Our next steps at First Hill are to work with the mayor and the city, many of whose departments we had involved in our visioning process, to work out how we create a formal master plan for First Hill that incorporates this vision. We're working with about 6 other communities around the country to also look at how we can create catalyst projects through this visionary work, and charting all of our work on our living future. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure, I can go first. I guess I have 2 questions. One, why First Hill?
Yeah, the First Hill is an interesting neighborhood because it is so diverse, as I mentioned. We had some funding by the Bullitt Foundation and the Kresge Foundation to explore this particular neighborhood and to look at how you could take a living building when it's planted in a community to scale into the neighborhood and start to use that as an inspiration and a catalyst to do more at scale.
So I think the work you're doing is so interesting, and it is a lot about setting up frameworks that you can look at communities through. How do you make sure that those frameworks have the flexibility to be contextually sensitive when they're applied on the ground, and sort of this idea of translating best practices versus translating best principles? I think I'd be interested in your take on that.
Yeah, I think each community is completely different that we're working in. the place, the culture, the ecology. We do come from this sort of ecological underpinning in our first sort of work with the community, and from that I think we create this unique identity of looking at what that ecology is. In First Hill and in Seattle, everything does want to be a fir and cedar forest, ultimately. That is the ecology of place. So how do we look at our, dense neighborhoods in this reference point of, a forest, and use that as a way to sort of extract the sense of place?
Great, thank you.
Tom?
I guess as I was looking through this, what message would you give to other communities in particular that are thinking about undertaking this kind of strategy?
Yeah, we believe that creating a vision together that could be implemented over 2 or 3 generations is a crucial way to bring together different components of a community. What we found at First Hill, and actually all the other communities we're working in, is that there's already the Cascade Bike Club working in the neighborhood. There's already Feet First looking at how we can create a walkable community. There's already the university who wants to add more urban agriculture. The public housing redevelopment wanted to do more in connection with the neighborhood. So what the role we play in creating this vision is that we're convening these conversations to come together under one unified vision. And really our role is this convener. And I think that's probably the same with many other neighborhoods. There's so many initiatives going on, but how do we convene them around this common vision? And then together go in a unified way to the city and integrate that into a more of a formal master plan, and together find funding in this private, public, and community-based partnership.
So it seems like you're setting up a framework, which is great. I think it's it would be nice to think that all the ecology groups all think kind of cohesively, right, in setting up that framework. What are some of the challenges that you find in creating that cohesive vision?
Lots of challenges. I think there's often competition for sort of funding. There's definitely rallying community input in one direction is never easy. And what we have realized is that it takes not only the integration of the existing community groups, but time and listening. I actually think most of all the community groups want to be heard and want to hear that their ideas are incorporated in an overall picture.
Excellent. And Carol?
I'm curious, when you have a lot of groups in play in a particular place, you talked about convening them, right? So who gains the power to convene and how?
Yeah, at the moment we're playing the role of convener. As we're convening initially, we're finding that there are other groups that actually may make more sense, like the actual First Hill neighborhood group was not very strong, but have become stronger through our work. And we hope that we hand this over to them to convene the project with the city, ultimately, and that we step out.
Great, and thank you.
Okay.
Great, thank you.